War Report coming live every Tuesday at 7 with Steve, Cat, Ryan, Amanda, and Eric. And the voice of NEW, Vince Berry. Hitting all the topics like a clothesline flurry. Turn up your speakers and hear them out. You can listen from your car, even on your couch. They too raw, who NXT? Handing out SmackDowns, follow on IG. Plus, it's sponsored by Tag Me a Date. Go to YouTube and sub now for every update. It's all wrestling here. No safe space. Now listen in. Time to hear from some of the greats.
Best version of the song to date, in my opinion.
Love it. Because they mixed in that you're going to get your fucking head kicked in into the drum beat. Like, you can hear the crowd. Like, it's great.
Yeah. I figure, how do we not open up with a little DB?
Shit on a shingle, guys.
Shit on a shingle, guys.
Welcome to the War Report, brought to you by Tag Me Dave. Holy shit, yeah. I know Raw was last night, and I know we had Rampage, and I know we had all kinds of other things going on, but let's back the bus up to Wednesday. Dynamite.
We have to start there.
Holy shit.
No other place to start.
Yeah.
Can I just...
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Before we get into everything, let's try and, if there are things we need to talk about before getting into that match, because I know it's going to take a while.
Well, no, I want to actually dive right into that. I just want to say this, and then I'll let you take the floor and kind of do what you want with it. You got to give Tony Khan a lot of credit in a lot of different ways. He had the balls to start the show with this match. He had the balls to let it go to a 60-minute draw.
Yep.
And the crowd wanted more. Oh. And that... and that's hard after 60 minutes. And, when you can get a crowd to start chanting Fight Forever, it's the real deal. I give it to you.
So, yes, last Wednesday, AEW Dynamite, winter is coming. They opened up. Hello. Thank you for tuning in tonight and being with us live.
I
Hope
believe
you're doing
that's
well.
Tara.
I think that is Tara. I was going to say 9 times out of 10. I don't know why it says Facebook user, but anyway, hey, Tara. We are talking about AEW Dynamite. Winter is coming. Opened the show, as Steve said, a bold choice to do. Tony Khan books the main event as the opening match and gives them a 60-minute time limit. You have the current champion, Hangman Adam Page, taking on the current number one contender, and still, even after Wednesday, and we'll get into that, number one contender, Bryan Danielson. They go to a full 60-minute time limit draw. The crowd was asking for 5 more minutes. It was... I mean, what else could I say about it except for it's probably match of the year. As much as Kenny Omega put the work in and put in a lot of great matches.
How can you compete with the match?
It was just... It was the... Because here was the thing. It started off... I had a feeling when it started off as slow as it did that this match was going to go the full 60. Just had an inkling this was how it was going to go. And as it went on, I was more and more confident it was going to be a draw. And I think it was absolutely the right finish. We knew it was you, Tara. Thanks for tuning in. It was the right idea. It started off in first gear.
Sometimes it doesn't work.
Sometimes it doesn't work. I would say most of the time it probably doesn't work. In this instance, it worked because it was too soon to take the title off Hangman. And you want to still establish Danielson as a threat to the title. If he suffers a loss, I mean, not that he couldn't absorb it. It's more of a perception thing. Well, he already lost the match. He's got to go down in the rankings. Somebody else has to come up. With a draw, Tony Khan has announced that Bryan Danielson is still number one contender to the AEW World Title, which means that we may get it at Revolution. We may get it at Battle of the Belts, which is going to be a 1-hour special on TNT next year. But anyway, back to the match itself. Started off in first gear, started off feeling each other out, whatever. The story that was told throughout the match was that Bryan Danielson had more cardio. He was in better conditioning than Hangman. He was doing jumping jacks during the commercial breaks, trying to show that he was still fresh and could still go. And he was pretty much taunting Hangman and saying, give me the best you got. You're the champion. You're supposed to be the best. Give me the best you got. And it built up from a slow start. And it's the next fight, 10 or 15 minutes, built up a little bit more. Then all of a sudden they start going outside the ring. They're doing some big spots out there. Somebody takes a ring post, somebody takes a table and a friggin' barricade shot and all kinds of stuff. And then you're like, oh man, is this going to be like a count out situation? Because that could get you out of it too. The title's not going to change hands on a count out. So Hangman could have got counted out on one of those big spots where he went, because there were a couple times he crashed and ate shit on a table. He crashed and ate shit on a barricade. Like, oh my God, I thought he was dead a number of times. And it built to Hangman being the fighting champion that he is. And it's not that he is, and that I like that. He is the champion not because he's necessarily the best wrestler, which he is a very, very, very good wrestler. Obviously, he's there. But what I'm saying is, it's not because he is the best in terms of the Daniel Bryan style of technical wrestling. He is a fighting champion where he has the grit and the resolve to work, in situations where somebody else would have crashed through the table and lost the match. He was able to get back up, and he can take this beating and just kind of steel himself against it and fight back to and move. He pushed forward and he made progress, and finally he hit the buckshot, and I loved it because they didn't do the stereotypical cover him. The ref goes 1, 2, and then they ring the bell. It was very real. It was a shoot 60 minutes. They kept time. A lot of people shorten it. It's like the Royal Rumble, 2 minutes between people. No, it's never whatever. But back to the point, they did the buckshot lariat. Both guys are down. Bryan's out, and Heyman's about to crawl over and make the cover, and the time goes out. So
wasn't Bryan already rolling out of the ring?
He was rolling towards like the outside, he was rolling towards the turnbuckle or the corner, and Hangman was trying to make the cover. So the story that's kind of being told here is, a few months ago you had Kenny Omega wrestle Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson, whatever the fuck, to a 60-minute draw or a 30-minute draw, whenever that was. And he couldn't hit that finishing move. He couldn't get that where it looked like Kenny Omega was going to just win the match before time expired. The idea, but that draw showed there was a chink in Kenny's armor, which eventually led to his loss to Hangman. So now the story is Hangman kind of got a little bit Bryan Danielson is going to be the end boss of like 2022, I think. Where he's positioned as, yes, the best wrestler who maybe just doesn't have the title right now. And maybe he gets the title, maybe he doesn't. But what I'm saying is Hangman got closer to beating him than Omega did. So does that mean that there's somebody else who figures out another part of the equation and gets that big win against Danielson? Or is it Hangman who, now that he's faced him in that 60-minute match, has figured it out? And he knows the next time I go in, I've got a game plan where I can beat him. So
they did everything
with no time limit.
Right. They could go no time limit. They could do an Iron Man match. They could do a submissions match. There's a lot of things that they could do with these two guys. And it all started with this draw was for this match. And I would say, again, 99% of matches, no. For this match, the draw was the right call because it not only was it a great match, it kept the title where it needed to be, and it set up a rematch for some time down the line. It wasn't an immediate rematch. We're not putting it on next week. We're not having these guys face each other 12 times before the goddamn pay-per-view. This is going to be, if you want to, if Daniel Bryan wants to face the champion again and the champ wants to face Daniel Bryan again, you both have to compete and you both have to fight as number one contender and fight as champion to make it to this next pay-per-view, because there's no guarantee. Titles change on Dynamite. The shit happens. So I think it would be so cool. Like,
they did absolutely everything right in this match. Yes. The pace of the match, the storytelling, the actual wrestling, it was just a home run. It couldn't be it couldn't have been any more perfect.
Do you understand why I didn't like Daniel Bryan? and I like Bryan Danielson now. There's such a big difference.
I always
understood.
I always understood where you were coming from. You know, he was made to be very reserved in WWE. They didn't let him wrestle the way he can and wants to wrestle. He's wrestled more now in AEW than he did in the final however many years in WWE.
So, funny thing, he's wrestled this year, the whole year, if you're starting from January, Daniel Bryan and then Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan wrestled 17 matches in WWE on television and pay-per-view. And Bryan Danielson has wrestled 17 matches for AEW. Those 17 matches from January to May or whatever it was, he wrestled like the same, like it was like 12 of them were rematches.
Yeah.
And like all this stuff, and like he lost most of them. And then you go and you see his AEW thing. Every match he's wrestled has been against a different opponent. And he wins in different ways. It's not just the knee. It's not just the yes lock. He uses, knee bars and ankle locks and just like technical knockouts from elbows or knees. Like he's using all these different tools. Like this was the guy I remember going to see wrestle in, the Danbury, PA
Ring of Honor
in front of 300 people in Ring of Honor. Like that's the feel that I like when CM Punk said, I left professional wrestling in 2005 and I came back this year. That's kind of what I feel like Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan did. Like he was in that cartoon world of sports entertainment and now he's back in like pro wrestling. And this is just, it's amazing that through the health issues that he's had, and he's a good deal older than a lot of these guys. He's like in his mid 40s, early 40s, mid 40s. Yeah. And he says it, and I fucking believe him. He goes, I'm in the best shape of my life, and this is my peak performance. You thought, and people were putting him over as a great talent even 10 years ago. You know what I mean? But it really does seem like whatever happened, he, at 45 years old or however old he is at the top of his game. It's ridiculous. I watched it on TV and I don't believe it. It's amazing.
How do you say anything more than it was amazing?
And listen, not to talk about a guy who's been around for 20 years and everybody knows he's good. Hangman Adam Page is one of those guys that, again, I worked with a lot of these guys coming up. It's pretty nice to see guys get recognized. Eddie Kingston, Adam Page, people like
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee. I mean, I just shared a video of Dijak and Keith Lee wrestling from 2017, and I was the ring announcer, and it was like, damn, dude. How did they fuck these two guys up? They put on a hell of a match 4 years ago, and they continued to do it in NXT, and then they just brought them up to Raw, and one's teabag, and the other one's not even there anymore. But Page was always a sneaky undercard. Like, he'd get booked on a show, and you're like, oh, who's this guy in the trucker hat? Because he used to wear like a John Deere hat to the ring, and he was a real just country boy thing. And he always put on great matches. But it was just, he was one of those kind of sneaky talented, like nobody really, he worked for Ring of Honor, but he was like really just a lower card guy. And it wasn't until like he got into Japan and started working New Japan did people realize that he was a good singles performer. And it just, it was something people knew. If you knew him, you knew he was that good. And it just took for him to get recognized in New Japan as a singles wrestler for people to catch on. And like, ever since then, he's like this cowboy shit thing. He's locked. He understands his character. It's locked in. It's a little bit him turned up all the way. Like Hangman is doing everything you could possibly do to be a big name talent in 2021. It's hard to do in 2021. It's hard to get a top guy. WWE's been trying for fucking ever, and the only guy they have is Roman. So in order to do all this stuff and be considered the champion, be considered top guy, and be accepted by the audience, and have them chant cowboy shit, and have them be into an hour-long draw. Listen, I hate soccer, anytime I've watched the World Cup and the match ends in a draw, I'm pissed. But that was beautiful, ending in 60 minutes. I mean, so kudos to Hangman, kudos to Danielson. It's probably match of the year unless something wild happens in the next.
I mean, as of right now, there's nothing that's come close.
Shit. I mean, even Danielson Omega was great. It was a great, but this was like, I don't know, dude. It was for the world title. There were real stakes. It was Hangman's first title defense. Does he, is the story of the anxious millennial cowboy that he can win the title, but he can't keep it. And then somebody, comes in, some carpetbagger from another company kind of comes in and steals your title from you on your first defense. There was all kinds of drama behind it. And the resolution wasn't even a resolution. The resolution was, we're going to do this one more time down the road. And people were ready for it that night. I was in Messenger, and I think I even said this, guys, to you. I wouldn't have minded if Tony Khan came out and said, guys, the rest of Winter is Coming is postponed until next Wednesday. These two guys are going to wrestle for another hour.
Yeah.
Go. Like they could have shown that match for the whole
You don't
show.
want to take that kind of
overexpose it.
risk.
You don't wanna
Well, it's not
overexpose
even
it,
that.
but
I mean,
yeah.
you go 2 hours, you're risking injury. You don't want to take that chance.
But
You put on a hell of a performance already.
They could have just put on 1 hour of TV and put on the credits, gone home. Like everybody.
Oh yeah.
After one match, like that was,
Yeah.
and then to have everything else with the Dynamite Diamond Ring defense and Sheeta and Deeb. I mean, Sheeta hit a jackknife cover to win that match. That was like, holy shit, dude. Like, a good night of wrestling. The people after that match had such an uphill battle.
They were fucked.
Yeah.
And not that the matches weren't good, but like, what can you do after that? I mean, Jesus Christ. Literally after the match of the year, it doesn't matter what you put out there. Like somebody just should have went out and made balloon animals for 45 minutes. Like there was anybody who went
Might
after
as
is going to
well
be
have.
compared to the best match of the year. So yeah, please, if you haven't watched Dynamite, if you haven't watched that match, set aside some time.
If I was any of those wrestlers in back watching, I've been like,
Oh man.
can
And,
we get a delay next week?
seriously, I would have been like, guys, I got a cramp. I can't go out there. I can't do it this week. Check it out if you haven't watched it. And that's the thing. Not to get too deep in the woods here, but I was saying this in a personal chat with one of my friends, and then I was saying it in the group chat. This proves Tony Khan's theory that wrestling fans love wrestling and want to watch quality wrestling matches, and disproves the current WWE theory that it's all about the stories and the cartoony stuff and the promos and the packages and all. And not that stuff's not important, but
Definitely.
when it comes down to it, when you're giving people 3-minute matches, 5-minute matches, whatever, and it's a 3-hour long show and you're filling, when like the cutting edge is longer than most of your matches, you've got to rethink your priorities of what's important. Obviously, it's just a different philosophy. WWE is an entertainment company, a sports entertainment company, and they're focusing more on the entertainment. Tony Khan loves pro wrestling, and he loves watching pro wrestling matches. And it's a weird thing to think. There's a market out there for people, sick people like me, who just want to watch quality wrestling matches. And it was on free TV. I would have paid money for it. I would have paid money to watch that pay-per-view, to watch that match. So
100%. I
there's
agree.
a market out there. There's a passionate group of people out there who want to watch wrestling because they love wrestling matches, not because they love the promos and the if you smell what the Rock is cooking, all this. They want to watch two wrestlers wrestle. And it's a concept that maybe we've strayed from in the last 20, 30 years, that there's definitely a market for it. People want, like, in addition to promos and video packages, when it boils down to it, you are selling a wrestling match. And that wrestling match, after all the glitz and glamour that you built it up for, that shit has to deliver. And it fucking delivered. So
I agree. I believe Tyra's asking if I'm okay.
yeah, he's just sitting back kind of enjoying the moment.
100%. I mean, I don't know why you're asking, but thank you for the
Well, because
concern.
you're usually.
You know what?
You know what?
But I'm letting you. I mean, listen, you can't. I couldn't be saying any of this any better than you right now. I'm taking it all in.
Yeah.
This is one of those situations where I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying. Rare
indeed.
Well, yeah, but I mean, listen, sometimes you have to call a spade, and they fucking delivered, man, and I just, it was for a wrestling fan, it was just a great moment to be a wrestling fan, because it was 60 minutes, And there's not many matches that can go 60 minutes that you're not like, all right, like I'm kind of done. You know, like
we gotta go.
The last one that I honestly can remember enjoying that went 60 minutes was Shawn Michaels Bret Hart. Iron Man,
Actually,
the original.
Our match, John Cena and HBK.
I was just gonna say that might be the last one.
No. I'm saying the one that I like the most.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's the that Iron Man match is the classic.
Yeah.
That's the standard when comparing, draws or long matches. It's like that, Steamboat and Flair going to their draws, Chi-Town Rumble and all that shit. Like, I mean, it's amazing that a week later we're talking about this match, comparing it to some of the best matches literally of all time.
Yeah.
And it aired on a Wednesday night on cable television. And it's great.
You know what I mean? Like that's something else too. Like
this was guts to put it on free TV.
Exactly, and there was a long time that I missed having the option to watch WCW Monday Nitro. And now I don't have to miss it anymore. Because Monday Nitro's back, and it's called AEW Dynamite. And this is the kind of shit that if WCW didn't ever get sold to Vince, I would like to think this is what WCW would be doing today. They would be, again, it's a Southern wrestling promotion. They wanted wrestlers who could wrestle. And you had to have a good promo and all that shit. But again, WCW always, to a point, valued performance over promos, which is why Flair was he was a gift. He was a perfect 10 and everything. But that's why a guy like Flair was NWA and WCW champion for so long versus Hogan and Macho, who were not. Macho was a better wrestler than Hogan, so maybe Hogan's a better example of like the WWF idea of a wrestler is Hogan, and the WCW idea of a wrestler is Flair, and that was always the difference between the two when you watch the shows. And that's how I feel again now, is I feel that, the WWE is going in a very, more cartoony, new generation kind of route. And then AEW is doing what a modern version of Nitro. And shit, that's all I could ever ask for. So, there's always going to be nitpicks and maybe things you don't like about a show, but like, I can't look at an episode of Dynamite the same way I look at Raw and just shit all over an episode of Raw. Like, Dynamite is doing...
There hasn't been a bad episode of Dynamite.
I don't think there's been... there might be episodes where people that don't tune in or has lower ratings, but yeah, I don't know if I've ever sat down and watched an episode of Dynamite and I was like, man, that show sucked. So, oh shit. We have a guest in the lobby here, Steve.
I'm on it.
Hey.
Ahoy.
Yeah, that's definitely up there with me too, Tara. That's definitely one of my favorites.
And that's that's some people's favorite match, like Tara, of all time, Hart and HBK at WrestleMania. And it could be that in 10 years or 20 years, some people could be saying that match with Hangman and Danielson was their favorite. Like some kid who watched this show when he was 8, and then now he's 18, 10 years later, looking back and say, man, remember Hangman and Danielson that went to a draw? Like, he could really, they could be making a memory for a lot of wrestling fans after that match. That was, it was an instant classic.
Yeah, it was incredible. It really
Eric,
was.
Did you watch Dynamite last week?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, outstanding,
man.
Anything about it you want to add? Because we kind of went through it already.
I know we kind of went through the ringer, but if you want to add anything to it, we
how
literally.
How long did that go? I don't
60 minutes.
It went all 60 minutes, like a legit 60.
It brings me back to like the days of like when Flair would do 60-minute draws.
Yeah, it's a very old school thing. They don't do it a lot. We were talking about that, how it probably doesn't work a lot in modern day, but this was the right call.
They don't always do it right, but this time they did it right.
Yeah,
Definitely.
for sure. We've literally talked about this match for 25 minutes. I could keep going just and talk about how great it is, but
listen, we can keep going, or we can talk about Seidel Wardlow. That was the next match on the card. There were some other good matches on the card.
Oh yeah, not to discount the rest of the night. It's hard, but it's that Wardlow thing with Seidel. I was so we're all ready for Wardlow to make the big turn on MJF.
Yeah.
And I thought Wednesday was the night. MJF was getting annoyed that Wardlow was power bombing the guy too many times, so he called Sean Spears and made Wardlow stop, and then told Wardlow to go drive and get the champagne for when he wins. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be bad for MJF. And it turns out that, in the end, it didn't turn out bad for MJF. He three-peated. He beat through dubious means, an interference by Ricky Starks, some interference by FTR. MJF retains against Dante Martin for the. Actually, I can't even say retains. Every year they're making a new ring. He's got 3 of these motherfuckers now, and this last one was made. There's a jeweler in Atlanta called Lux, Luxe Jewelers, and the guy who owns the store and is a trained, he's a jeweler, he's a gemologist. He designs his own jewelry. He was trained in wrestling by Cody and QT at the Nightmare Factory.
Wow.
So he's got a connection to them, and they said, like, this year, if the ring that they design, obviously materials and cost, the cost of the materials is different from the sale price, but basically if the ring that they made for MJF this year was on sale in a jewelry store, it would be worth $100,000.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, that
Wow.
probably means it's legit, 30, maybe 30 grand worth of materials or something. But you know what I mean? It's with the work and the labor that went into it and designing it, and it's such a unique piece, they would say it's valued at $100,000. Whether that's a wrestling number or not, it's still a nice ass ring. And even if it was worth half that or a quarter of that, it's still impressive. And it's, when MJF wears it, it's very distinct. So, three-peat for MJF. They're selling. I like when they do this. AEW treats it like a sport. When somebody wins a new championship, they put out a T-shirt celebrating new champions, and so they have an MJF three-peat shirt in the vein of like when the Chicago Bulls would win 3 championships in a row. I'm like, oh, that's too cool. So, there's those out for sale, and like, it's great. The whole deal with Wardlow, I know is building to him turning on MJF, but if I was putting money on it, I would have put money on Wednesday night being the night that he did it.
It certainly felt like they were building to it.
I know, it was right there. And then what was after that, Steve? Was it Sheeta and Deeb?
Yeah, Sheeta and Deeb.
Oh, I like that match too.
And those two, I mean, let them wrestle every week. I don't give a shit. They put on great matches, and Serena Deeb is again, WWE have these people under contract and they don't fucking do anything with them. How do you take Serena Deeb and just like shave her head and put her in the background, or like make her a trainer in the performance center or something? Like, what in the fuck? She is a talent that should have. Imagine having her around in the women's championship scene, whether it was WWE or TNA, in the last 10 years or so. Like, she was just being held up there and not used. It's amazing.
Yeah. You could say that about so much talent, though.
Very true.
Yeah, so it's good to see her with the spotlight.
Yeah, and Sheeta is only getting better. Not that she was ever bad, but like, I mean, both of these women, I think, just by having this long-standing feud and this series of matches together, have improved. Like, iron sharpens iron. They very much improve each other, and like, I no complaints about that. It was a good match. They had a nice little. Serena Deeb is dressing like and kind of acting like a heel Bret Hart right now. That's kind of like her deal. Is she's kind of like a Dean Malenko Bret Hart hybrid, doing this like grappling thing. They had a finish that reminded me a lot of stuff Bret Hart would do. She took the chest bump off the turnbuckle and then got rolled up in a jackknife cover, and I'm like, that's such a Bret Hart finish to a match. Steve, I hope you don't have corona.
I had read speculation about
no corona.
Her being reunited with Punk for like a somewhat of a straight edge reunion kind of type of thing.
They're saying that's a possible. I mean, she even teased it was a
even
possibility.
if it's just like a little inside joke thing,
like a backstage segment where they're like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to at least acknowledge it. And that's kind of the funny thing is WWE or AEW will acknowledge stuff from WWE as part of a larger, like, expanded universe of wrestling. Malachi Black is basically a direct continuation of Aleister Black.
Yeah.
They just
well, they made it even darker, but
right.
yeah.
But
Fair.
it's it wasn't they didn't like stray away from acknowledging that the dude was who he was. Like FTR has those jackets that they wear to the ring that has like the dates that they won the Raw, SmackDown, and NXT titles along with their AEW titles, and like they acknowledge that these guys are decorated world champions from other places. It's cool to see that, like, your history isn't just wiped away and they give you some generic name that can be trademarked. It's kind of a continuation, which is what we may see this week, because there was a tease from the Elite and Adam Cole. There was a present that was very much contract sized, and they're teasing something for this week. And it
What
could
do you
be,
think?
I think it's Kyle O'Reilly.
Yeah.
Well, and what I will say too is I read something from Tony Khan, and he likes to kind of stir shit up, but he said make sure you keep watching week after week because you never know who's going to show up, kind of thing. So he's teasing the fact that he's about to collect a lot of these guys.
For sure. And they can take that bad blood between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and expand on it here, because that's another thing is
reunite the All Elite.
Right.
Not All Elite.
I want to see
Undisputed Era.
I apologize.
Yeah. No, I want to see that. I want to see the Undisputed Era versus the Elite.
I think I think there's going to end up being, I don't know if you saw the graphic that said the Undisputed Era versus the Young Bucks.
That's what I was thinking.
Custody of Adam Cole on a pole ladder match.
Yeah.
And it's basically, that's what I think is going to happen. It's going to be Fish and O'Reilly fighting against the Young Bucks for who is going to have, like, I don't think they're all just going to, they might start off coexisting as one kind of big super clique, but I have a feeling that very quickly Red Dragon or the Undisputed Era or whatever one you want to call Fish and O'Reilly are going to break off from these guys. And it's going to be Adam Cole caught in the middle. And who does he side with? And when is Kenny Omega coming back? Because
I think that's when shit hits the fan, because Adam Cole is a leader,
right?
But so is Omega. So when he gets back, that's going to start the conflict there, and that's when you're going to see them break off and have the Undisputed Era versus, the Elite.
It's very Black and White versus Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Oh man, and they all watched back in like that. They were our age. They're our age.
Yeah,
so
that's what got them into it. They'll be the first to tell you it was that kind of shit.
And I love, some people online, I see, there are too many factions and this, that, and AEW. I'm like, no, more factions. It gives people
all the
shit
factions
to do. It makes sense because what, do you all just sit in the locker room by yourselves and not talk to anybody? Do you not have friends?
Exactly.
Like, why? Well, you didn't make acquaintances backstage? Like, when you get jumped in the ring, nobody comes out to save you, and why? Like, the best friends, they're, if one of them gets jumped, eventually somebody's coming out to help their friend. The Young Bucks, the Elite, the same kind of deal, the Nightmare Family or whatever, if they're still a thing. But the Dark Order for sure will come out and help out when one of theirs is getting beat up. So, like, I like the idea that there are these groups that people kind of naturally fall into, and you can be a lone wolf. You can be a Moxley, but even then, Moxley has Kingston now. So it's like, you can be a lone wolf, but you can have alliances and stuff, and it's not just. I don't know. There are too many times where like Drew McIntyre or Big E will just get their ass whooped, and nobody comes out to save them. Like, what? Why? Why would nobody come out to save Big E? He's like the nicest guy.
Yeah.
Like, I just wouldn't. I don't know, dude. Like, that's why I like factions. I just think there's opportunity for, and even like Wheeler Yuta Best Friends introduced Wheeler while Trent is out. Now Wheeler's a guy in AEW, like a talent. And he's a really, really good wrestler for a young guy. And like Preston Vance, number 10, he's under a mask. He's kind of like a background guy in Dark Order. When they're ready, they're taking that mask off of him, and he's going to be a fucking main eventer.
He's a big deal.
My words.
Yep.
He's a big he's another underground guy because they haven't overexposed him as a young guy. He's going to be a big fucking deal.
Yep. Agreed.
Agree.
Oh, and before we get into WWE, happy Hookmas, everybody, because on Christmas Eve, we get our second Hook match. Huzzah!
Right,
on Rampage.
Didn't he overturn Punk as the biggest seller of merchandise right now?
Hook's t-shirt, which is literally a white t-shirt with the word Hook on it in the old Taz font. It's a white t-shirt with black letters, and it has outsold CM Punk in the month of December.
Isn't that amazing?
Fuck.
I assume they named him that because Taz was from Red Hook.
Yeah, yep. He's Hook, and Hooker, before Hooker was a term for prostitute, Hooker was a term for like a shooter, like a legit wrestler.
Yeah.
So there's
like
and
Lou
then
Thesz was one of those.
Yeah, and exactly. So he's a Hook. Calling him Hook is a little on the nose. The kid knows his shit. He knows his martial arts and his judo and all this stuff. And I mean, wow, he's going to be wrestling
and he's so
Bear
strong
Bronson.
for his size too.
Well, that's why they have him wrestling Bear Bronson this week, a guy that outweighs him by legitimately like 200 pounds. So we're going to see if he can pull off what Taz used to be able to do and catch like a T-bone suplex or a head and arm Tazplex or something on like Bam Bam Bigelow. And that was always the cool thing was Taz was so small. He could throw these big guys. So if Hook can do that, I mean, the kid's already made. He had such a good entrance. And he had his character figured out with the trunks and the hair and the deal. And he came out and didn't look at Fuego. And he's like, I'm too cool for all this shit. And he just beat him and walked out of the match. Like, he didn't even let the referee raise it. The whole thing just oozed with like, that's a guy that you could put your fucking eggs in his basket, man. Like, I'm excited. If I'm his finisher, Red Rum, instead of the Taz Mission, it's
love the name.
Which
love
even then, like the Hook, Red Hook, the Red Hook District, Red Rum, he's Hook. Like it all kind of ties in. And Red Rum obviously is murder backwards. Fucking The Shining, whatever. Yeah. So no complaints here. I will have a very merry Christmas Eve watching Hook doing head and arm Tazplex to Bear Bronson. And if that happens, you're all gonna know about it because I will send a message to say it just happened.
Oh yeah, I'll be watching it live.
Excellent. Anything WWE related we wanted to touch on this week? I mean, there's one thing, but it's for me, it's very much an aside. But like anything major.
Well, I gotta say, I enjoyed SmackDown.
Yeah,
I think SmackDown was a great show.
SmackDown had some. It had
Brock Lesnar was great. Yeah. Roman Reigns segment with Paul Heyman, and now officially Heyman's been fired was great.
Not just fired. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, he got the Superman punch, but he's been wished the best in his future endeavors. Whether or not, it could be. It is Paul Heyman. That's possible.
Could be a swerve, bro.
Bro.
Vince Russo was the head of the table the entire time.
It was me, Austin.
Yeah. It was. Oh, could you imagine if Vince Russo was the higher? It was me, bro. It was me the whole time, bro.
Come on, bro. No, he lifts up the hood. Austin, what you didn't understand, it was me all the time, bro.
Just with that friggin' Brooklyn accent.
I did my best.
No, I know, but it's just funny because you were like, I was like, yeah, I could, yeah, that's a Russo impression right there. Anyway, yeah, I think we're in an interesting spot because we do know it's Paul Heyman, and we know that this could just be a ruse to get Lesnar distracted from Roman Reigns and focus on his longtime friend Paul
Heyman in Lesnar's corner.
Right, and then he can do the old swerveroo on him at the actual pay-per-view. But I mean, that's
they
also
can also do a double turn also, possibly.
Bam.
Like, oh, what turn?
Turn Brock heel and turn Reigns face.
Ooh.
Correct?
I think it's too early for it, but it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I might be. I think it's too early for it as well. But I don't. Who knows what they're gonna do, man? They added. I mean,
I
that
am
day
enjoying
one-
Brock Lesnar as a face. I will say that.
Yeah.
And
It's great.
the crowd seems to be getting behind Roman and the Usos. So it's tough. It's like WWE almost doesn't know what they want to happen right now.
Yeah, I'm enjoying like when Brock Lesnar when he's motivated to do something, he does it very well. When
Yeah.
he had that world championship celebration like 15 years ago or so, where he was mocking Eddie Guerrero and he came out with the sombrero
Wearing
on,
like a
and he-
sombrero, yeah.
and he was dancing and he did like the
They're
Mexican
bringing that
hat
shit
dance,
back,
and I'm like,
A few
when does
years ago,
Brock
they had
Lesnar
the thing-
dance?
The Money in the Bank when he was
Yeah.
using like a
Boombox
boombox.
Brock, when he just gets to goof off, like he's out there in plaid and overalls. You don't think he wears that shit every day when he's at home? This is
Yeah.
just him stomping around in his clothes, like his casual clothes, acting like a maniac, and I'm okay with it. And him and Sammy, they've got good chemistry together.
Very true.
Sammy, yeah, I mean Sammy's a funny dude anyway, but it's you put him in the situation where
Sami Zayn has been unbelievable lately.
well,
Yeah.
because Lesnar is an intimidating figure, but he's like smiling. And sometimes you look at a guy who's smiling, who's that tough, you're like, that's bad. And all of the
Yeah.
emotions that you have that Sami Zayn shows on his face is like, he's smiling right now, but he could rip my head off at any second. So I'm just gonna be as nice as possible as I can to him in the
Sami
moment so he
Zayn
doesn't kill me. It's
Is
great.
such a great heel. He's such a great heel. And he's funny as hell.
There
So
are
it
rumors
works.
that he
And Brock has
quietly
been great.
Signed, by the way, with WWE.
I had a feeling as soon as Kevin Owens was confirmed that it was a done deal for Sami Zayn.
Yeah. Speaking of, I don't know. Did we mention this last week? Did it happen before our show? Did we talk about Kevin Owens getting his payday?
I think it was
Wait.
in between.
Say that one more time.
Did we talk about it last week? Kevin Owens getting re-signed.
Well, he didn't resign. No, he resigned after Tuesday. So this is all new. I mean, from what I understand, he got a hefty fucking
between
payday.
$2 and $3 million a year for the next per year over the next 3 years brings to a total between $6 and $8 million.
Which makes sense because he said he made the decision that's best for his family. So I mean,
Right?
multi-million-
Yeah, I mean, $2 million a year, and
but they can fire him at any fucking time. So
Yes,
it's not a
it was
guarantee.
confirmed.
That's the
Or
thing.
use him poorly.
or yes, but here's the thing: if you're getting $2 million a year, I don't think you give a shit if you're being used poorly.
Right.
This is a guy who wrestling is much like Owen Hart. Wrestling is a job to him, and it's while he is good, very good at it, it is in fact a business, and he's trying to maximize his earning potential. I would never turn down $2 to $3 million a year. That's fucking
Never.
crazy. I get it. You could beat me with sticks for $2 to $3 million a year, but he
You
confirmed
could
on
push me off
podcast-
this. You could give
Yeah,
me the
right? Yeah, that's
Zack
all the
Ryder
dumb
push.
shit that he does, where they throw him off the cage and shit, like, and he dives through chairs. That's he's earning his money there. A couple things. He lucked out because WWE missed out on the last few guys that left and couldn't get them to sign on the dotted line. So they actually had a lot of extra money set aside for these guys who didn't re-sign. So they were able to throw him a big payday. So good on him for timing wise. Like, he hit the lotto. It was the right time where like Cole bailed, Gargano bailed,
Yeah.
O'Reilly bailed, all these guys bailed, and they were trying to keep some main event talent. And he was in this position to make extra money off of it. Now,
But you know what? Kevin Owens is the type of guy that should be
Oh, yeah.
getting that.
Good
You
for
know what I
him.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
true.
he's
I'm not,
great.
yeah, I'm not going to begrudge a guy for getting.
I mean, his
getting
matches
there.
are always a home run.
Yeah.
When are we ever
definitely.
really disappointed with a Kevin Owens match? He
No,
delivers.
we're always disappointed with how they book him. So maybe they'll
Yeah.
maybe now that he's the $2 million man, maybe they'll book him
A
a
little
little better.
extra incentive to.
Seriously. So yeah, confirmed on a podcast that there is he did not put what's called a no cut clause in his contract. WWE. It has also come down the chain that Vince will not put no cut clauses in, meaning that
that he can let you go at any time.
Yeah.
right, he can be let go at any time, and Vince McMahon will not consider putting any clauses in that guarantee a contract for the full length of the contract. So I mean, in
Makes
6
sense though.
Right. in 6 months, if they decide this Kevin Owens experiment is not working, they can offer him the same 90-day release as everyone else. And who knows? But I think Kevin Owens did this, as he said, the best for him, but really logically the best way to handle it, because he got a big money offer from WWE. He brought that offer to AEW. They couldn't match it. They did as best as they could, but he said no. So he signed with the bigger money offer. If it turns out in 6 months that WWE is like, nah, fuck this Kevin Owens guy, he's making too much money, we're just going to cut him, he can still go to AEW and make money. It doesn't matter. It's not like in 6 months they're good. Tony Khan's going to go, I don't think I need that Kevin Owens guy. Like, no, he's the guy where if he loses his job in any way, aside from like crippling himself where he couldn't wrestle, if he gets fired or let go or whatever else, he's getting snapped the fuck up by Tony Khan. So make your money with WWE while you can, and know that you've got a fallback or an alternative in AEW that's a nice way to think. Hey, you know what? I've got a nice now. I'm getting paid a lot of money, and if I lose my job, there's another company out there who will pay me almost as much money. Like, what the fuck? Sure. Stay on SmackDown and get booked into the ground like everybody else, or whatever it is. Raw now. But good for him getting paid. Bam. $2 to $3 million a year.
I mean, how? God bless him.
Would you buy a boat? Would you buy a plane? What would you do? I mean, obviously you pay off your debt. That's A1. You pay off all your debt. But after that, what do you do with that kind of money? Do you buy
I can't even imagine that much money.
Yeah.
Like, do you buy one of those nice tour buses so you don't have to fly everywhere and you just have like a nice tour bus?
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I can't even get like it's a fictional amount of money.
That's even if they're touring in the next year.
Right. Oh God, yeah, they're already. Of course, I buy my tickets for AEW in Bridgeport, Connecticut for February, and now they're talking about this goddamn Omicron variant and how it could affect the future shows. And AEW and WWE are both preparing for the contingency of going back into Thunderdome or Daly's Place like situations. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And yeah, I just can't. I can't, dude. Like,
I can't either.
I especially like no crowd. Sucks.
That's the worst.
The worst is no. At least if you can have a Daly's Place where you can still have a couple thousand people there and it feels like a live event, great. But if it's just the goddamn Thunderdome with people's Zoom call in the background,
it doesn't cut it. With the fake noise.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing, and you know that like they just have recordings of these people sitting at their computers and webcams reacting to stuff, and when they want somebody to thumbs down, they just hit a button and all the thumbs down videos show up, and when they want them to cheer, all the cheer video, like it's not organic at all.
No.
Oh yeah, well listen, the show hasn't been canceled yet, so the AEW show is still going on as far as I know in Bridgeport, Connecticut. As long as the numbers stay good, then I won't have to worry about it. But yeah, I'll be very disappointed if I miss out on that show.
Well, it looks like it's a lesser variant of COVID, so
yeah, I mean,
it depends on how crazy.
With any
everybody
virus,
gets.
the variant is always A, more contagious, and B, less severe with its symptoms. So and C, less lethal. So hopefully it's just a matter of a lot of people are infected and they're getting these symptoms, but the symptoms aren't as worse as mainline COVID. I don't fucking know. I'm not a doctor. Don't quote me on
I'm just saying. I'm trying to be the.
Yeah, no, I'm hoping. Listen, I'm just putting it out there. I'm hoping that things are just going to be fine, and I won't have to worry about any of that crap. Come February.
Same.
Yeah. So we still got SmackDown on the bottom ticker here, Steve.
Yeah.
Aside from the fallout of Heyman being removed from the Samoan dynasty here.
What a great segment, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great segment all around. Good to see Heyman taking a bump. You know what I mean? Reigns is great.
And Heyman shouldn't be taking bumps all the time, but when it happens, it should be important. And that was important.
And that was it. You know what I mean? And that's just a prime example because he doesn't do it often, which is great, and he shouldn't. But this was just perfect. It was very well done.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy with it. I mean, I guess we could touch on Raw. I had noticed a message to the group from Eric that Raw sucked. I can't say that I totally disagreed with him. We talk about so much less wrestling and too much of the nonsense, and it's like there's no reason why we should have a Miz TV and a Cutting Edge on the same show.
Oh,
Like little things like that.
And well, here's the thing: that's for the same feud. Like if they were for different
right.
feuds, but like,
right. Well, and that's true too. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Raw didn't overly excite me at all.
I want to talk about one thing that I don't know if it confused anybody else, but
probably did. Go ahead.
who turned babyface, Omos or AJ? I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either. No fucking idea.
I'm not the only one. All right.
No fucking idea. And I don't really understand why they split them up to begin with. Like is Omos ready to be on his own? I don't know. I don't know.
Does he look ready? I mean, come on. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
Not really.
He looks.
Not really.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I read online the way commenters were reacting to the show online last night was that AJ turned babyface and almost was the bad guy. So
it comes off like that to me, but I still couldn't tell.
I feel like almost has to be the heel, right?
Yeah, he has
Like,
to. It's kind of harder to sell a heel heel.
Well, there's
AJ
such a
to
height differential.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, the bigger guy has to be the bad guy in this situation because, like, it's AJ Styles. Like, I mean, come on,
right? Exactly.
I'm not siding with Omos against AJ Styles in any kind of feud. It's ridiculous.
Pretty much. Unless Omos can cut an amazing promo.
It's a much bigger height difference than Shawn Michaels and Diesel.
Yes, yeah.
It's noticeable, very noticeable.
Yeah, you need like two
the
AJs
dude's almost twice as tall
up.
as AJ. It looks like,
It really does look like he's half the guy's height. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I wonder, this is gonna sound silly of me, I guess, to ask, but does Omos still do the karate kicks that AJ was hyping up like a couple months ago? Like the roundhouse kick or something.
I mean, we haven't really seen too much of him wrestling on his own, like to say, but probably.
I mean, he was the giant ninja.
Was he the WCW giant
ninja? He was. He was.
The time machine. Oh, God. I just don't know. Like, I can't picture a match between those guys going well. Like, I just don't know what does AJ Styles do with that guy? He's going to get the overhand chop like the Great Khali, and he's going to hit AJ, and AJ's going to fall down, and like AJ's going to try and go for the forearm with springboard, and he's going to catch him in a choke slam. There's like 6 things you can do with this fucking guy. He's too tall.
Listen, maybe he's going to surprise us with some crazy like giant shit.
Maybe. Hey, you know what? If he can do, because remember Giant when he first came out could do kick ups and stuff. Tara, no.
I want to see Omos do a fucking Hurricane Rana. Let's see him pull that shit out.
We need to address your nonsense here, Steve. Let's not confuse the viewers at home. Omos was not, or Eric, Omos was not the super giant ninja in WCW. That was Ron Reese.
Yeah.
That was Ron Reese.
Yeah, we're talking about with
notable because you could tell the WCW Super Giant Ninja was a white man, which automatically gives up the ghost that it was not Omos.
So you're saying he doesn't have the reverse Michael Jackson syndrome?
Yeah, Tara, I'm referring to when Tozawa had all those ninjas.
Oh, that's right. No, he was the Super Giant 24/7 title ninja. You're right.
He is right. He was.
And then they had the Vikings versus the ninjas in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You would think that if you said that about any other television show, there were Vikings versus ninjas fighting in a parking lot, somebody would look at you like you're a real asshole. But you guys just like, I mean, it happened. Yeah, exactly. But you were right. Eric was right. I was wrong. I didn't say. I said he was a super giant ninja in WCW. That was on me.
And I think Big E. I think it was Big E that referenced the bad Lashley storyline. He's like, you have a lot of sisters.
Oh, I still can't believe that Max Caster was one of those Bobby Lashley sisters back then.
Really?
In the segment where they had the three guys pretending to be the
Right,
sisters.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, one of them was
damn, I didn't know
Max
that.
Caster. So,
Huh.
the more you know, man. I just saw Alex Abrahantes from AEW in a Facebook advertisement for HP laptops.
Yeah.
And when I clicked on the ad, all the comments said, Penta says buy an HP. Like every single comment is from a wrestling fan. It's great. Anything else we need to touch on before we hit the top of the hour here, Steve?
I think that's about it. We are at the top of the hour.
All right, great. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. This is, for better or worse, our holiday episode. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I assume because Christmas is over the weekend that we will be full steam ahead for next Tuesday, the 28th. I don't think there's anything stopping us from doing a podcast that day. So we will be back next Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. We do our live streams on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope. And you can check out, if you look for the War Report or Tag Me a Date, on Facebook, it's twitch.tv/war report. That's all one word. Our social media handles are at tag me a date. That's all one word. Tag me a date. You can find our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook, all that stuff through at tag me a date. It's our YouTube channel as well. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we go live or when we upload a new video. And we do go live, as I said, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on Eastern time. YouTube is one of those platforms, so you can subscribe there. Twitch is one of the platforms we go live on. You can give us a favorite or a heart over there. You can on Periscope or Twitter, well, the same company, so it's all run from the same back end. It's also Tag Me a Date for our live stream, and the archive of the shows, most of them are on our YouTube channel. And if you prefer a audio version rather than a live video stream or an archived video stream, and you want to take the audio version with you on your mobile device or your tablet, then you can go to your favorite podcast app of choice, such as Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Google Play Podcast. Search for Tag Me a Date or The War Report and subscribe. The audio version goes out about an hour after, within the hour after our show goes off the air. And it will get uploaded right into your app as long as you are subscribed. And I do have to note, there is another War Report podcast out there. Gasp, who hiss. That also does pro wrestling. So you just have to look carefully to make sure that it is the version that is endorsed or produced by Tag Me a Date. So you should see that on there. Make sure you subscribe to us. I'm sure those other guys put on a great show. I've never listened. They can go pound sand. But be sure to tune into our podcast live next week on the video stream or subscribe to our audio podcast. And we'll be right back at it 6 p.m. Eastern time next Tuesday for another edition of the War Report Pro Wrestling Podcast. Again, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I hope you have a safe time. If you are celebrating a safe way, both for health reasons with coronavirus, and also be safe in your activities, what you take into your body. Don't overdo it. There are a lot of tragedies that happen on Christmas due to drunk driving, etc. If you're too drunk to drive, hire a taxi, get an Uber, call somebody, call us, send me a message. I will, if you're
Call
too
your
drunk,
mama.
Call your mama. Yeah, seriously, like, don't drink and drive on the holidays. That is a surefire way to really fuck up somebody's holiday and end it on a down note.
Ruin
So I want
yours as
everybody
well.
to be coming back strong after Christmas with all of your gifts and all of your it's the second day of Hanukkah, so you got socks, and you're going to wear those goddamn socks next week. You know what? I want everybody to be wearing their holiday best when we come back next Tuesday for another edition of the War Report podcast. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we will see you next week.